What is going on, guys? In today's video I will show you the top 20 best builds in Diablo 4 Season 9. So in this guide I will give you a quick overview of each setup, then I will explain what skills and upgrades should you focus on. And if you're here to speedrun through the endgame, melt bosses in seconds, or just find a build that fits your playstyle, then I've got you covered, because we will look into the top 20 new meta builds, so you could pick and choose which build is right for you and much more. And before we continue, thanks to U4GM, they are a pro website that provides Diablo 4 services like cheap gold with fast delivery and pro carry runs, as well as unique and legendary items. They also have more than 17,000 comments on Trustpilot, and this website is really worth a try, so make sure to use my discount code KAID for extra 6% off. Next up we have the Twisting Blades Rogue build, which is a fast and high damage melee setup that is focused on a skill where you throw daggers that spin through the enemies, dealing damage and returning to you for a second hit. Gameplay is all about positioning, using twisting blades to hit multiple enemies in a row, while also taking advantage of mobility skills to stay agile and evade attacks. You can combine this with critical strike enhancement and poison, or even shadow damage, which makes each hit from the blades more devastating. And now for the last A tier build we go the Lightning Storm Druid, which is an elemental caster that harnesses the power of the lightning storm by summoning powerful electrical storms to deal AoE damage to the enemies over time. Your gameplay revolves around maintaining strong positioning and keeping enemies within. The build is focused on managing mana, boosting lightning damage, and controlling the crowds with the other nature-based spells to complement the storm's DPS. And now finally we've come to the S tier, and for the first one we have the Ball Lightning Sorcerer build, which is a high damage projectile based setup that is focused on casting bouncing orbs of lightning that deal continuous damage to the enemies in their path. Your gameplay is all about placing them smartly to hit as many enemies as possible while avoiding direct contact. You will want to focus on enhancing lightning damage, critical strikes, and mana regeneration to keep the orbs bouncing and dealing consistent damage. Next up we have the Dance of the Knights Rogue build, which is a fast-paced AoE focused setup that is centered around a skill that rapidly throws multiple blades in all directions, dealing damage to nearby enemies. Your gameplay revolves around maintaining constant offensive pressure with a high mobility and using dash or smoke grenade to reposition and stay out of danger. You will also further enhance the damage of each thrown knife by stacking critical strike and attack speed. Then also we got the Lightning Spear Sorcerer build, which is a high intensity ranged guy that focuses on a powerful ability that hurls a spear of lightning, dealing very heavy damage to the enemies in its path. Gameplay is all about positioning and timing, as you aim to hit multiple enemies with each spear, while utilizing the synergies that increase lightning and critical damage. You will also focus on building mana regeneration and a cooldown reduction to keep your abilities flowing. Then next we have my favorite Fireball Sorcerer build, which is a classic ranged mage that revolves around launching explosive projectiles that do AoE fire damage. Gameplay is focused on positioning and timing, as you aim to hit large groups of enemies with the fireball, while enhancing your damage with critical strike and the fire damage bonuses. You will also leverage synergies to increase your fireball's explosion radius and burn damage over time by using Flame Shield or other defensive spells to stay out of harm's way. Then for the S tier we have the Evade Eagle Spiritborn build that combines agility with the powerful spirit-based abilities that are centered around using Evade skill for quick evasive maneuvers, while benefiting from the Eagle Spiritborn enhancements. Gameplay revolves around staying mobile and using the Eagle Spirit to boost your offensive capabilities and provide aerial advantages in the battle. You will focus on weaving through the enemies, evading damage while dealing precise strikes, or even casting the elemental spells. Next we have the Quill Volley Spiritborn build, which revolves around using a skill that launches a barrage of quills to deal very high damage to the enemies. Our gameplay is focused on positioning and maintaining distance, firing quills and relying on the Spiritborn enhancement to boost the damage and survivability. You'll use shapeshifting to stay agile, often shifting into the werewolf for faster attacks and mobility, or perhaps the werebear for tanking and controlling enemies. The build puts emphasis on sustained range damage, allowing you to unleash powerful quill attacks while staying protective with defensive spirit buffs. Next up we are placing the Earthquake Barbarian, which is a heavy-hitting AoE-focused build that uses the Earthquake to deal massive ground-shaking damage to the enemies in a wide AoE, This gameplay is all about building up the fury and unleashing Earthquake to crash multiple enemies at once, often using leap or charge to position yourself and getting close. The build excels in high damage bursts, where you can decimate entire groups of enemies with the powerful slams, which makes it perfect for players who enjoy tanky and explosive playstyle. Next we have the Whirlwind Barbarian build, which is a fast aggressive melee setup that is focused on the Whirlwind skill, allowing you to spin around the battlefield, dealing continuous damage to all the enemies and much more. Gameplay revolves around maintaining consistent mobility. And using spin to win to clear large groups of enemies while generating the fury to fuel your attacks. The build focuses on stacking physical damage, attack speed and fury generation to keep the party spinning. Then for the next S tier build we have the Blight Necromancer, which is a poison based setup that is all about releasing a cloud of toxic gas that poisons and weakens the enemies over time. Gameplay is focused on applying persistent poison damage to the enemies while managing essence and utilizing minions to support your damage output. You will want to upgrade this with the corpse explosions or other poison related abilities to deal massive damage to enemies as they remain in the Blight cloud. Next up we are placing the Ice Shard Sorcerer, which is a frost based build that is focused on launching sharp ice projectiles that deal significant cold damage and can pierce through multiple enemies. Gameplay is all about positioning to maximize the number of enemies hit by the ice shards while stacking cold damage and critical strike bonuses. You will want to use Frost Nova and other freeze related abilities to control crowds, freeze enemies in place and deal bursts of damage with the ice elements. Next up we have the Dead Trap Rogue build. This is a trap based setup that revolves around using a skill that sets explosions that deals massive damage when triggered by the enemy. Gameplay is focused on strategic placement of traps, luring enemies into them while maintaining mobility and staying out of danger. You can upgrade this build with critical strike damage, trap damage and stealth abilities to ensure that you can hit hard when the enemy is least expected. Next in the S tier we have the Crushing Hand Spiritborn build that is focused on using a massive hand to smash enemies with a devastating force. Gameplay revolves around leveraging the Spiritborn ability to enhance your damage and defensive capabilities, allowing you to deal significant damage while staying resilient. You will often shapeshift into the Werebear to tank damage and deal very heavy blows, or perhaps into the Werewolf to quickly close the distance and strike with incredible speed. Then next we got the Shadow Step Rogue build. This is a highly mobile, stealth focused setup that is centered around quickly teleporting behind the enemies and dealing devastating attacks. Gameplay revolves around using the Shadow Step or to engage, reposition and escape, while focusing on a high burst damage through the critical hits and a shadow based abilities. Next in the S tier we have the Cataclysm druid build, which is a powerful elemental setup that summons a massive storm to deal catastrophic AoE damage to the enemies across an AoE. Gameplay revolves around positioning and timing as you aim to maximize the storm's damage potential while keeping the enemies within its reach. You want to combine this with the shape-shifting abilities, often using Werebear for tanking or the Werewolf for increased mobility and attack speed. Then for one of the last ones we got the Blood Surge Necromancer. This is a lifesteal build that causes enemies around you to explode in a burst of blood, dealing damage while healing you. Gameplay is all about managing essence and the life effectively, using Blood Surge to clear groups of enemies while also sustaining your own health. You can also further upgrade this with the minions to absorb damage and provide additional support. Next we got the Rupture Barbarian, which is a high damage burst focused build that revolves around dealing explosive damage to the enemies after building up your fury. Gameplay focuses on using Rupture at the right moment to maximize damage output, often following that up with the fury generation ability to keep the attacks flowing. You complement this with a tanky defensive skill such as the Fortify to soak up hits while staying in the thick of a combat. Next in the S tier we got the Russian Claw Spiritborn build that is focused on charging into the enemies with a powerful claw strike, dealing significant damage while also closing the gap. Gameplay revolves around using the shape-shifting, particularly in werewolf form, to enhance your speed and offensive capabilities. You want to utilize mobility to get in and out of combat quickly, focusing on a hit and run tactics and applying pressure through the fast and powerful claw attacks. Then for the next one, in the S tier we have quite a new and unique hybrid build, aka the Minion Barbarian, that combines traditional barbarian strength with a focus on summoning and commanding a minion. Gameplay is all about using the barbarian berserker's abilities to enhance the effectiveness of the summoned creatures, such as wolves or other primal allies. You'll rely on your minions to engage enemies while you stay in the fray, dealing damage and soaking up the hits. The build is all about creating a balance between the raw physical power and the support of a summoned minion. And now finally, for the last S tier build, we got the Blizzard Sorcerer. This is a cold based build that summons a powerful storm of the ice and snow to deal massive AoE damage to the enemies within its radius. Our gameplay is to position the Blizzard effectively to cover the large groups of enemies, while stacking cold damage, critical strikes and the freeze effects to enhance its power. This build excels at both sustained AoE and crowd control, and it's ideal for players who enjoy a slow and methodical playstyle, with a focus on freezing and obliterating enemies in split seconds.